Joining me now from our bureau in Washington, D.C., Director of Government Relations at the Federation for American Immigration Reform, or FAIR, R.J. Hauman. R.J., I love it, the fact that the President made the case that there is a crisis at the border. We've been saying that on this program for many, many years now. It's been a crisis at the border for many, many decades. So really, this is nothing new. But I also thought it was very nice the way he framed this to be a moral issue, because this is a moral issue. It's a moral issue that the American people are directly affected by.
No, absolutely. And I love how the president framed it as well. I mean, it was vintage President Trump. He reminded everybody out there, aside from making the case to the American people on why these are good policies, he said that the #1 stakeholder in U.S. immigration policy, it's the American people. That's lost on people in Washington. Just look at the dynamics in that room even before President Trump uttered the first word. Look who the Democrats brought up in the gallery. They had illegal aliens, people that are benefiting illegally from our humanitarian immigration programs. Then on the other side, President Trump brought a family who had been victimized by a criminal alien in Nevada. You had law enforcement officers. You have one side, the Democrats do not want to fix this crisis, and President Trump does. We know how to solve the problem. You got to fund the border barrier. You close the loopholes in our asylum laws that incentivize Central American migration and these caravans. We know what we need to do. They used to be things that Democrats used to support. And now, just because President Trump supports them, they refuse to do it, and it's getting people killed.
Here's the good news, is that it appears, if you believe the polling, that immigration is becoming slowly more and more a top priority for most of America. If you look at, in particular, Pew Research, 51% now overall believe that immigration should be a top priority for our government. 68% of Republicans believe this. 40% of Democrats. I'm a little surprised that that number is that high. But when the president talks about a humanitarian crisis, I know he's appealing to the part of the humanitarian crisis of illegals coming across the border and being abused. But I don't look at it that way. I look at the humanitarian crisis being you and I and 310 million other Americans. The humanitarian crisis is what he pointed to during that speech of the angel parents and that poor family in Reno that was victimized by this illegal immigrant. The crime should have never taken place. The guy should have never been in the country. And this recent attack, I guess it was gang member on gang member in New York involving MS-13. This is the humanitarian toll.
No, you're right. And he had a great line in the speech along that line. He said, nothing illustrates the divide between the political class and the working class than the issue of illegal immigration. You have the political class, you know, the donors, the people here in Washington, out there clamoring for open borders while they live behind walls and guards and things like that. President Trump's on the side of the American people here. There's a CBS poll that came out right after the State of the Union. Over 70% of the American people agreed with what the president said on immigration. All the president is trying to do, this is mainstream rule of law stuff. Secure the border, close these loopholes. The Democrats don't want to do it just because they hate President Trump. If any other president was proposing what President Trump is doing right now, they'd support it because they've all supported border barriers before.
And thankfully, the president said in no uncertain terms, once again, that he would never abolish ICE, not while he's president of the United States. And you folks at FAIR have been doing studies, and you have one on prison populations, illegal alien incarceration rate versus the United States citizen incarceration rate, and it is clear, the red in the chart versus the blue, the red are the illegal aliens. There is a higher, especially when you look at Arizona. And so when the Democrats come out and they say, oh, illegal immigrants are more lawful than Americans, not only is it an insult to you and me and all other Americans, but statistically we know that's inaccurate.
It's totally inaccurate. Yeah, and as the study you're mentioning found, it's illegal aliens are likely to be incarcerated 4 times. They're likely to be in prison 4 times the likelihood of a U.S. citizen. And here's the thing, too, is one crime by an illegal alien is too much because it could have been stopped. Just one. So again, when you're talking an amount like 4 times, that's just something that feeds right into what the president is trying to do right now. And it backs up why we need these border barriers down there, why we need to close these humanitarian loopholes. Like you mentioned, that terrible murder, that gang murder of MS-13. MS-13 has hijacked these flows of Central American migrants coming up here, where they recruit new gang members and they get released into the interior of the country and they commit these horrific acts. It's something we really need to stop.
The wall is only half the equation. The other half is to close the loopholes in this disastrous immigration law that we have right now that allows illegal immigrants to walk up to our border agents, say the magic word, and poof, they're allowed in. So it's a two-step process. But when you look at the wall, I believe now is the time, and I hate to say it, and I hate to use the word never, but it appears to me the trajectory of this republic that it is now or never on building this barrier, this permanent border barrier down along our southern flank. RJ, thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.